Hi everyone, and welcome to Paper Pumpkin Week here on Creative Chelsey. Over the past couple days, I've shared some great card ideas you can make with the contents from this month's kit. Today, I'm sharing with you my fifth and last set of alternative card ideas using the May 2025 Paper Pumpkin kit called Mountain Majesties. If you'd like to watch me unbox the kit and create the original cards, or see any of my other alternatives, you can click on the playlist and I'll link it up here in the top right corner. So the cards that I am sharing with you today use up the last pieces from one set of cards contents from the kit. I love trying to find new ways to use the Paper Pumpkin kits, which means sometimes the last projects are the best. Thanks for watching all of my alternatives this month. Each month I take the contents from the Paper Pumpkin kits and make alternative projects. My cards are easy to follow and can be made by both experienced or new paper crafters. You may need just a couple other products to complete them. You can follow along with me using supplies you already have or purchase any of the products you see me use from my online store. The link to all products is below in the description or on my blog, creativechelsey.com. Do you want more alternative card ideas for your Paper Pumpkin kits? Then subscribe to Paper Pumpkin and choose me as your demonstrator. I've joined with other Stampin' Up! Demonstrators to design 8 to 10 more alternative ideas in a PDF tutorial, which includes photos and instructions. My subscribers receive this PDF tutorial along with an exclusively designed card kit, all for free. All right, so to begin these cards, we're going to just cut some pieces to be the same size, and then we'll start the cards individually. So I have the petal pink envelope, and we're going to trim off the folded edges. And that's going to give us 2 pieces that we can use on our card. We are only going to use the front side. I ended up not using the back side for anything, so if you want, you can make your own card and use that. But this is the front side, and we're going to trim this down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So you have that petal pink piece, and then we're going to do the same thing with the Lost Lagoon piece. So it's the green blue piece, 3 3/4 by 5. Okay. Then we're going to take some of the die cut pieces and we'll trim those also down to 3 3/4. So let me grab those. I've got the blue vellum. We also need some green, this other blue vellum piece. So one of these pieces was longer, remember, and we cut it down. We have our green vellum, and we have this brown piece here. So I think that's everything we need. So just start cutting all of it down so that it's 3 3/4 inches wide. So there's one. Oops. Make sure to use that straight edge up at the top or bottom just so that you get a nice straight cut. So 3 3/4 is the width for everything. And then for this brown one, we're actually going to trim it straight across. So however that's the easiest. It's going to sit just around 1 3/4 inches. Save this little square, we're going to use that. And for this one, we'll trim it at 3 3/4. Just like that. Okay. So now we have all of our pieces, which will make adding everything together much easier. Well, let's begin with our brown, blue, and green card. We're going to use our Lost Lagoon piece, and you can kind of flip this around to decide which kind of watercolor area you want at the top. And we are going to begin by adding, this is the rounded hill The other blue one is more of an angled hill. Do you see the difference between those two? We're going to use the rounded hill, and you're going to add that close to the top. You want enough room to be able to stamp your birds. If you want to do that first, you can. So just near the top. And then that can go right underneath those birds. When you add this with adhesive, just place the adhesive near the bottom so that you don't see it through the vellum. Make sure it's lined up with the edge. And you'll get something that looks like this. Then we're going to take the brown piece, put a little adhesive on the back, and just cover up the blue. There's really no right or wrong here. It doesn't have to be at a certain height or whatever. So there's that one. And then you're going to take the Mossy Meadow vellum and go ahead and add this. And when you place it, add the adhesive where you think you're going to put your greeting. And that's just going to go right about there. So I've got maybe about 3/4 of an inch at the bottom of that envelope paper showing. So it's going to look something like that when you're all done. Let's go ahead and decorate this. So for some of my past alternatives, I took the Mary and More tags dies, and we cut out some of these pine boughs, and we used them like trees. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And to do that, you need to separate each one of these little branches so that you can straighten out the leaf and get more of a tree look instead of a leaf look. So just cut them apart. Keep them together though along the middle trunk, we're going to say. It's just when they're connected so that they can't move freely. See how that one's moving? That's what we want to happen for all of them. Okay. So go ahead and just like the other ones, we're going to take some of these bottom ones and straighten them out by holding along the trunk and then just bending that leaf down. And it's going to definitely get wrinkly and like, I don't want to say crooked, but it's not gonna, what is that? Like a distressed kind of crinkled up look. And you can do that all the way to the top if you want, or however far you feel like you need to lose that leaf look and get more of a tree look. Once you're done, go ahead and just snip off the bottom so it's nice and straight, getting rid of the bottom stem. That's what I'm trying to think of. And then add a little adhesive. I just do a little bit down the trunk. And then we're going to place this near the middle, off to the right just a little bit. Straighten it out again so it's nice and straight. And that's going to make it look more like a tree rather than a leaf. And like I said, I've used this for a couple of my alternatives already. So if you're just seeing this first alternative, then you can check out all of my other alternatives through that playlist link up at the top right. So do you see how it now looks more like a tree top rather than a leaf? So then we're going to cut out some leaves. We've got that leftover brown, and we're going to use the leaf die that coordinates with this kit, which is the Hugs a Bloom die set. And it should fit just perfectly in that space left over. And then we also have a little vellum. Oh wait, it's not vellum. It's a Mossy Meadow triangular piece, and we're going to cut just a couple leaves from that as well. So go ahead and run these through and come back and we'll work on the next step. So I did go ahead and get 4 full leaves from the brown piece, 3 leaves from that Mossy Meadow triangle die cut piece with that die cut from the Hugs a Bloom. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my brown into 2 sections, and we'll hold on to these and add them after we add our greeting. So for the greeting, I was going to turn this into a birthday card, and I'm going to stamp my greeting on a piece of basic white cardstock that is 1.5 inches in diameter, and I'm stamping with the Misty Moonlight ink spot that came in the kit. And we're going to add some linen thread to the back. And this is a double bow, so probably use, just trying to think. So I usually like to do about 10 inches for a single bow. And so let's also add another 8 inches. So that would be 18 inches. You could go bigger if you wanted to. I like to smooth it out. It makes it a little more easy for me to manipulate. On the back, whenever I'm doing faux bows, I like to add some tear-in tape to the back. It just holds things in place a little bit better than a glue dot. Take your ends together, and you're going to find the center of your linen thread and put that on the adhesive. And then go back and forth to create those loops. Oh, perfect. 18 inches worked nicely. And so you can try to do the same size loops, or you can go a little bigger or a little smaller, just depending on whatever you want to have. Oops, that one came undone. And then I will add this with a dimensional on the back just to hold everything in place. Right over. Let's go ahead and put this over that area we added glue. Okay, so you can put it at an angle if you want, or straight, whatever you think looks good. Maybe something like that. Then you can take your leaves, and with some glue dots, you can tuck those under the greeting. And you can use a variety. You don't have to use them all either. So I'm going to start with the brown just to give a little bit of contrast between the greens, because we have lots of green here. Put one of those right about there, and then maybe this single one on top. Or off to the side. There we go. And then let's do the other brown next. Let's do this in the bottom left corner. Again, lift up the linen thread, and then we'll put the Mossy Meadow. And if you have one here or two, doesn't really matter, whatever you were able to cut out, and stick those. I'm going to bring them a little closer together and then stick them in between those two browns that got separated a little bit more than normal. Perfect. Just like that. Let's make this a little bit wider. So cute. Okay, so then we're going to add a little border of crumb cake cardstock along the edge. And I wanted this just to have a little border, so I just cut it 1/8 of an inch larger. So that would be 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then let's smooth that out. And then on the back of that, we'll pop on dimensionals and add it to a card base of thick basic white cardstock right in the center. And your card is all done. I love how it turned out. Nice, simple, great use of the leftover pieces to create this really beautiful card. Okay, so for card number 2, I have a fun technique that we're going to do in the background on this vellum piece. So this is the vellum piece with a little more of an angled top. I'm going to flip it over to the back, even though that probably doesn't matter, but I'm going to mimic this long edge and I'm going to make some stripes going that direction all the way through. And I'm using my dark Night of Navy blend. And you could probably get away with any blue blend. What I like about the blend markers is that they're going to dry really quickly and they don't smear once they're dry on vellum. So just use that thick edge, create some fun pattern to the back of that vellum piece. And as soon as it's dry, you get this really fun texture to the vellum. So apparently I cut this piece and used it for something. So you'll see that I won't have this little triangle here at the top, but we're going to layer this on top with about a 1/2 inch showing at the bottom, which gives a little bit of a triangle here at the top. So this card is going to be a little different than this one because I'm going to just leave that triangle there. Let's put a little bit of adhesive right along this bottom edge. And like I said, give us about a 1/2 inch spacing here at the bottom. Just like that. And if you don't want that, you could cut it to mimic that same angle there. You don't have to have that peeking out. And let's go ahead and add this to our envelope piece. This is the petal pink envelope piece. And we're going to just put it right in the middle. I'm not really sure where middle is, but I'm just going to eyeball it and then make sure that it's straight across. So really wherever you want to place it, but just make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, let's smooth it out. Across the middle here between the blue and the green, I want to add a pop of color. And I've got a piece of Flirty Flamingo, and it's a little bit longer, which means I'll have to trim it once it's on my card. So I'm going to place some liquid glue on that and then add that right over the middle. Again, if you want to use your grid paper or something to make sure that it goes straight across, you can do that. And then once it's in place, that side feels like it's not sticking. Then we'll trim off the ends. There, that looks about right. So with my paper snips, it's just easy enough to trim. And then we can add this to a backing piece. So this is the same size of that crumb cake piece we added to the first card. So it's just 1/8 of an inch larger, giving me about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. So that size is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Super cute. Let's go ahead and add this to our card base. I'm going to pop it up with dimensionals, just like my other card. And I'm putting it on a card base of thick, basic white cardstock. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, so some of the other pieces that I have left over from my kit are this long, wide rectangle and then this skinny rectangle. And I'm going to change it up a little bit from here because I didn't realize I had this rectangle available as well. So we're going to do that. I also have some vellum, Lost Lagoon vellum, and my petal pink flap, and some Lost Lagoon flap. and we're going to cut some pieces from this. Let's start with our stamping. So for this one, I wanted to pull in that pink color. So I've got my Flirty Flamingo pink as well as my petal pink. And we're going to use the I Love You stamp. Let's begin by stamping I Love You on this smaller rectangle of the two in Flirty Flamingo. So it's going to be the nice strong color. Try to get it in the center or as close to the center as you can. So I got pushed a little bit more on the U than on the rest. So I'm going to just flip it over and try again to get more of an even pressure all the way across so that it doesn't give me one bold and one not bold. So that looks a little bit better. Then I'm going to clean my stamp and we're going to stamp it on this piece all the way down in petal pink. Okay, so I've got my petal pink ink starting at the top. It's just going to barely fit going down the edge, and you just repeat it. What I like to do is start on the ends and then just kind of move my way down. That way, and hopefully it is pretty evenly spaced all the way down. If you mess up and a part comes off the paper or you misstamp this area, that's okay. And then as it comes together, we're going to put I Love You right across the middle. So we don't really need to stamp the middle of that. I'm also going to take this piece and we're going to distress the edges by just tapping it into some petal pink ink. You can see how it just adds a really easy distressed look to it. And then we're going to take this and with some paper snips, go ahead and just angle the edges just slightly. And like I said, I know it's a little bigger. If you want to trim it down so that it's smaller, to give you this look, you can, but I'm going to keep it looking like this. Add a little adhesive in the middle and pop that right in the center between all those other I Love Yous. You can do it at an angle, you can keep it nice and straight, whatever looks best to you. Okay, so that greeting is ready. We are going to next add some Flirty Flamingo baker's twine. And this is a product that you can purchase from Stampin' Up! In a pack with two other colors. There's a blue and a yellow. And I'm going to go with, let's just go with 13 inches. You could do 12, whatever you want. And I love this little texture that you can get when you fray the baker's twine. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it against the original twist, and that's going to open up, and so I can pull out a couple strands. And I like to keep 2 or 3 strands together. So on the back here, we're going to add some tear and tape, and we'll do another faux bow. This time we're going to do a double faux bow because we've got 2 strands. So it's going to be nice, thick bow. So this one's not quite as frayed as my original one. So if you want to fray it some more, you could just kind of pull some pieces out and then bring it back together so that you get more of that frayed look. So totally up to you. I think I'm going to do that because this just looks like a skinny baker's twine. So pull this one apart. I'm going to use my take a pick tool. That might help separate them. There we go. Okay, so bring them back together. Once you separate them, if that's the look you want to go for, put the ends together. I think that's the right direction. Nope, did it wrong again. There we go. And then that's giving me the look that I'm looking for more than the other one did. So I'm going to separate this one a little bit more. Okay. Nice skinny little strands, but it gives a really fun, soft feeling. Same thing, going the same direction. It's just you can go a little smaller or bigger, depending on what you want it to look like. So once you have that down, go ahead and add some dimensionals over it to hold things in place. And you can add more at the top or bottom. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like this and place it right in the middle, kind of where the, if you're going to keep those two hills together, right where they meet. Perfect. I love that soft look that the twine adds. So now with all of our leftover pieces, we're going to cut ourselves some beautiful leaves and flowers. So with the envelope, Lost Lagoon envelope and the Lost Lagoon vellum, go ahead and cut one of each of the flower or the leaves die, and then I'll be back. And you have plenty of this paper, so if you want to cut more, you can. I just went ahead and just did a little bit. So I'm going to separate them into two groupings. I can always change it up if I want to cut them more. And grab yourself some glue dots, and you just add these around the I love you area. So one closer to the bottom, one closer to the top. So this I love you is a little wider than this one. So again, you could have cut it down if you wanted. So just keep that in mind when you're placing them down. And there's no real right or wrong way to do this. So you can go under the baker's twine, you can go over it. Okay, just give it a little bit of a nice look to add dimension and layers to your card. So this one I'm going to do up closer to the top. And then maybe something like that right on top. Very pretty. And then the last thing that we want to cut out are some flowers. And again, I'm using the petal pink and the punch, this little 4-petal punch. And you could use any small flower here. I'm going to do 3 flowers. And then I'm going to distress them just like I did with the greeting with a little petal pink ink, just to kind of make them pop out just a little bit. So I'm just going to lay them on top with the petal pink side down. At least I think I did. This one looks like I did the wrong side. And then for the petal pink, I'm just going to take my Take a Pick tool, press down in the middle, and pick up. And you'll see that it adds just a little touch of color in the middle of petal pink. And then I am going to add just a little bit of Flirty Flamingo to the edges. So just take one, and this you're just going to kind of scrape and tap a little bit of petal pink on the edges. Can you see a little touch of pink there? And you're going to repeat that for all 3. You can get a little more or a little less, just depending on how much pressure you add. So just keep that in mind. And you have plenty of paper, so if you wanted to make other ones so you have some choices, you can do that. Let me show you what they look like close up on the back of this, so you can see what it looks like on white. So that looks, I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to do kind of the same thing we did with the other ones with my foam pad and my stylus tip, just to give it some three-dimensional. We're going to start with them upside down, and we're going to roll the edge of the petals. Just like that. Then flip them over, and you're going to put some pressure in the middle and roll in a little circle to give them that look. And then we'll add them with a glue dot. So I just need 3 little glue dots. I'm going to put one down here and then press in the middle again, just to give it that dimension. These don't want to come out. Let's put one right up here, and then another one maybe under it, or we can do it over the leaf, just right there. And then press down in the middle, just to kind of help them come back up. Okay, so cute. If you want, you can add a rhinestone in the center, but I thought it would be fun to pop a little bit of yellow, like a little bit of yellow color. So I've got this really large crocodile, and it's going to cut me a little circle that's maybe a 1/4 of an inch in diameter, so it's really tiny. I'm just going to cut myself 3 of those, add a little dot of liquid glue in the middle of each one, and then with my take a pick tool, pick them up and add that to the middle. And they are going to be a little bit rolled because that's the way the crocodile cuts them out. So if you need to press down to get them to stick, you can, because they've got a little bit of their own dimension on them. I think that's so cute, that little pop of yellow. And then, of course, if you'd like to add a couple rhinestones, you can definitely do that. Here to the back, put maybe some down there, a couple near the bottom, and let's add one more. We'll put it by the I love you. Perfect. Such a cute card. I love turning those landscape die cuts more into a geometric pattern and layering them up together. Just turned out to be a really cute card. Again, just some little differences between my original card and this card. We've got a little corner of that Lost Lagoon peeking out, and then the thicker label here that you can cut down to fit if you'd like to. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create these beautiful cards today. If you're interested in getting your own paper pumpkin kit, please do so using the link in the description box below. If you would like to see written instructions or close-up images on how I created these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsey.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.